Major League Baseball proposed lowering the initial luxury tax threshold and adding a salary floor in its first proposal to the Players Association. This proposal included a salary floor, which would initially be set at $100 million, and the penalty is still unknown for teams who do not reach that mark. Within the proposal, a new tax on the teams would be implemented, essentially lowering the first luxury tax threshold from $210 million to $180 million and charging teams more for going past that first mark. In the current CBA, there's a 3-tier tax system, which will turn into a 4-tier tax system with taxation beginning at 25% instead of 20% for the teams above 180 million. Now, both of you guys have said you have so many thoughts on this. You could talk for days about it. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts on the collective bargaining agreement and the luxury tax getting lowered and really the salary floor with the $100 million limit right there?
Yeah, thanks for leading this segment, Mike. I think that this is the owner's first proposal. So obviously they're shooting for the moon here. Zero chance that luxury tax gets, lowers to 180. Also, so many questions like, is this $100 million salary floor? Is it revenue based? Does it, change each year? Like the MLB revenue's tripled since 2001. So, it shouldn't just be a flat 100. If that's the case, it has to adjust with how much the league is making every year. And I'm honestly not really a fan of it at all. The salary floor, I think, is fine. Like if you take that on its own, but I could see a lot of teams just kind of maneuvering it, manipulating it, like taking on a Chris Davis contract, taking like the Pirates, taking on a really bad contract to and add a prospect attached to it. And I don't think that's going to increase the competitiveness. I think what my solution would be, and there's no easy answer. I think I wrote my senior thesis on examining the salary floors in leagues and if it actually makes teams competitive. And I didn't find that the case. I think what you need to do with the MLB is you need to change the revenue sharing because these owners are able to make money without putting competitive teams on the field. Their TV deals, everything, they're making so much money. There's no reason for Pirates to go out and spend money to put a competitive team because these owners are seeing it as a business. That needs to change. They obviously need to see this as a team. They need to try to win. If there's a way that winning can be more incentivized in the revenue, I think that's what really will need to change. The luxury tax going to 180, I think the players would never agree to that because that would just hurt them in the long run, right? You look at the Dodgers, they're the one team who will go past it. Some of the guys they've signed, they've been willing to get like a Max Scherzer and all these other guys, Trevor Bauer, I know that didn't go well, but they're not able to sign those guys. They're not going to go 150 million past the luxury tax, right? That's just not plausible. So I don't see the players ever agreeing to that. The floor will probably entice them a little bit, but there'll need to be a ton of caveats there. I think this is a conversation too that we're going to be having a lot of different terms and numbers will be thrown out there before we kind of get agreed to a deal.
Well, I didn't write a senior thesis on this, so excuse me before we start here. But I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I do think that on some level, you have to start somewhere. Sure. And that is the difficulty for me because nothing's going to be perfect. You're always going to get owners who are just going to throw whatever on the field, and the essence is making money. It's not the Steve Cohens or the Dodgers or the Steinbrenners with the Yankees. I mean, not everybody is going to be so wrapped up and invested in winning in that way, regardless of how it actually turns out on the field. I think that the salary cap floor, while of course there are some holes there, I think it's a very good place to start. Because even if you are taking on the Chris Davis contract for a prospect or you're doing this, that is still in some way advancing you towards winning. Because if the idea is the Orioles wanted to unload that contract and you were willing to take that, you're still getting a prospect to do that will help you reach that salary cap floor. So I do think that there is some value in creating that. You have to make teams go out and spend, which is unfortunate in the environment of Major League Baseball, but it is different. The revenue is shared so differently in Major League Baseball as opposed to really almost everything else in the entire sports landscape. So there's no quick fix and easy answer, but I really like the salary cap floor because it at least is making you do something. It is at least making there somewhat of an even playing field between the Dodgers and the Pirates. The Pirates can't just spend what the Dodgers are spending on, one player. They can't do that. Mookie Betts' contract can't, serve the entire Pirates organization. So that doesn't make a ton of sense. And to be able to at least eliminate some of that has to be a step in the right direction. It may not solve all the problems. I'm really interested in getting an understanding of how the dynamics of Major League Baseball would shift if you reduce the luxury tax, though. Because what does that mean? Are the Dodgers going to just spend even more? Does that mean that they're just going to is it going to put the Yankees and the Dodgers at the advantage that they're at right now at even more of an advantage because they're able to spend more without penalty? You know, the Indians or the Pirates or whatever organization you want, the Rays, they're never going to get to that level. So by giving the team to the top a break, is that really going to make it a difficult and uphill battle for a team like the Rays or the Pirates?
Yeah. There's two angles to look at it, because there's the competitive balance, but there's also the players wanting to get paid. And I think that will be the precedent here, because obviously, right, you want the sport to have parity stuff, but the players, like, there have been some really bad offseasons recently where Bryce Harper has to wait till February. Manny Machado, like these guys at the top, maybe they're taken care of in the long run, but you have a lot of middle of the pack free agents that are very frustrated. You know, we saw these tensions boil to the point where they're willing to punt on a season for like their grudge and the owners, but the owners the same way. You know, they're driven by the greed and stuff. So I think that's when you look at it. I do agree with your premise that the floor is a start. But like, and there will never be a perfect scenario. There will never be a way to make all the owners spend. I get that. But I just think that like, it's not enough on its own. I don't think that lowering the luxury tax will help at all. I think it'll just hurt, you know, the demand. Like the Yankees are not willing to lower the luxury tax right now. They traded a reliever having a great year, Luis Sessa, just to offload a bad contract in Justin Wilson. And you see, it's not just the paying more. Right now, I forget his name. The Yankees are in line to sign the #1 international prospect. They would not be able to sign him if they went over the luxury tax. They take away those dollars. That's a way you can supplement your team, right? If you're not at the top of the draft order every year, you can hit the international pool and spend there. So it's stuff like that. The luxury tax is really a de facto salary cap. And I give credit to the Dodgers always. And they deserve that championship last year for going out, getting a Mookie Betts, spending the money. And, you know, they were in a drought. They were winning division every year, but never getting over the hump. And it did get them over the hump. So I think it's worth it for them to swallow the pill. But I don't see, like, is the demand for players from these Orioles and stuff and these bad teams, are they going to be in a bidding war for the top of the edge relievers on 3-year contracts that don't fit their window? That's the question.
No, but I think it would help the mid-level free agents, because if you have to get to $100 million, you want to stick. You know, I think teams will say, yes, we have to spend, but we're not going to spend stupidly. We don't want to spend on somebody that we don't want. So for the mid-level free agent, I think it does make a difference, because now the Pirates who have to get to $100 million, or the Indians or the Guardians who have to get to $100 million, and the Rays who have to get to $100 million are going to say, well, hold on a second here. We want to spend on this top level, mid-level free agent as opposed to this other guy. So I think it would get the ball rolling with some of the demand. I mean, no, the Rays are never going to be in the hunt for a Bryce Harper or a Manny Machado. But if it's that DJ LeMahieu type of contract, DJ LeMahieu's market would have been a lot greater had there been a salary cap floor, because teams are saying, all right, I have $50 million that I've got to spend. So do I want to spend it on one DJ LeMahieu, or do I want to spend it on 3 no-name pitchers? Whatever the case may be, I think that it would really increase the value a little bit, or at least the demand of some of those mid-level free agents, because you do have to spend the money, but I don't want to spend $50 million on 3 guys who are never going to contribute to my team. You might pay for a higher level or outbid another team to get that top flight mid-level free agent.
Yeah, really quickly, Mike, just before you go, the thing I'll say there is it goes down to the owners at the end of the day. Are they willing to put the good products on the field? Like if you're willing to just punt it to collect the money, then do you really care about signing the top guys? Like, what does it do for you there? And just if the Rays were forced to spend $100 million, that would be just like, how scary could they be?
Yeah.
Like they're this good, spending $35 million, whatever ridiculous number it is. If they're forced to actually pay players, like that could just be the next dynasty. Like I don't even want to think about that. It'd be a scary prospect to have them go against the Yankees if they're spending.
Yeah, I don't think the luxury tax is going to get lower that much, like you both already alluded to. I do like the floor. I'm with you, Nick. I think it's a good start to this proposal. I think there's only 7 teams right now that haven't reached that $100 million floor yet. So, and I know for the fact the Pirates and the Rays are part of those 7. So that can be fixed. Like you said, you can sign a DJ LeMahieu, for example, for that $50 million that is left over. But we'll have to see what talks go on for that.